The quartering. I know. Nobody's thrilled about it, but did you know that once upon a time, he was known as a Magic the Gathering YouTuber? Do you want to guess what happened? He got banned from Magic the Gathering. Now, some of that came down to the fact that he led an entire hate campaign on a, female Magic the Gathering personality, and so he got banned for several years from playing the game in competitive tournaments or anything. And his name is basically just a giant blacklist in terms of the greater Magic the Gathering community, so that's fun. So he has a channel called Unsleeved Media, and he targeted one Christine Spankle, who was a very, very big Magic the Gathering cosplayer, which led to her basically leaving the MTG community. And then, outside of Gen Con, he got assaulted. And this was ostensibly because of his political views. But following that assault, he used social media to identify his attacker, which led to people doxing them. Now, I'm not saying that physically assaulting Jeremy is a good thing or was the correct thing to happen. At the same time, doxing people is kind of fucking cringe. So, Gen Con then ended up banning him for targeted online bullying of attendees. Now, there were some really, really dumb publications, like, say, Bounding into Comics. If you go over to the right-wing side of media, you would actually find that the story was he was banned not because of assaulting anybody or sending people to assault people, doxing, any of that shit. No. According to right-wing media, he was banned because he was assaulted. Like, the way that you decide to make your title is indicative of the message you want people to take from whatever you are trying to make. So when you say Gen Con bans the quartering's Jeremy Hambly after he was assaulted, that might not be all of the information required for somebody to make an observation on that, but when somebody sees this while they're scrolling through, like, Google News, then that's going to be the take that they have. Period. So, after he got banned in April of 2019, he said that he would officially quit Magic the Gathering content creation on his Unsleeved Media channel, and citing that the ban of himself was the thing that caused him to no longer have interest in the game. And now, well, this is a month ago, but 1 month ago, he made a video called "My Ban is Lifted, Woke MTG and Pokemon in Full-Scale Meltdown." I feel like the kind of narcissism required to make a title like that, it says far more about you than it does any of the woke people on the other side of the conversation. Jeremy, I don't know. That's just me. But let's go ahead and see what's going on in this video. What's he got to say?
Oh boy, everybody. Welcome in. I don't know if anyone's even going to see this video because this channel has not uploaded in 3 years, but the ban has been lifted. I have been participating in Magic the Gathering tournaments for several months. I have been collecting Magic the Gathering cards, Pokemon cards, and a whole bunch of other things. In fact, I have about $10,000 in product to open up to celebrate coming back to the TCG community, not just Magic the Gathering, but
Imagine having $10,000 to just drop on trading card games. Like, okay, so I'm never going to make fun of somebody for their hobbies. It's the same hobby that I have. But $10,000 on cards that lose basically all of their value within a quarter second of you opening that pack? Like, feels like a bad waste of money, but he makes enough money on the quartering channel to spend that kind of money, so.
Pokemon as well. I'm going to be unboxing these tonight. A Lorne Eclipsed collector's box, which is not as good value as it was. I always love my fat packs. I know modern Wizards, SJW Wizards calls them bundles. They will always be a fat pack to me.
Modern SJW Wizards calls them bundles, but I will still call them fat packs. Yeah, and the Pokemon community is still going to call them ETBs. my guy. Like, if when I see somebody who is new to Magic and they've come from Pokemon, I point to the bundles and I go, that's an ETB. Because that's what it is. It's the same as a Pokemon Elite Trainer box. Quadri says, how many Stormtroopers does it take to change a light bulb? None, because they are all on the dark side. Jesus Christ.
So much to talk about in the Magic the Gathering world and the Pokemon TCG world in terms of corporate greed, lawsuits, terrible card design, pandering to weird dorks, brightly colored hair people that...
Pandering to weird dorks and brightly colored hair... Okay, so I can be on board with Jeremy's takes when we are talking about the corporate greed of maybe not so much Wizards of the Coast, but Hasbro as a company, which has led to Wizards of the Coast doing the things that it does. At the same time, when you start going, it's because they're pandering to people who have differently colored hair. Shut the fuck up, you goddamn moron. I feel like, okay, so you know the type of parent who got made fun of by everybody else because they... Every single time somebody had, like, any type of non-conformingness, like say, pink hair or piercings or something, they would, like, scoff at it or, like, seem visibly upset at it. And you know how much those people got made fun of for so long. It's weird seeing that pendulum in a different way, where it swung the other way and now suddenly it's just like, yeah, no, this person didn't conform to the norms that I expected. Wah! Like, my guy, you're playing a trading card game. Like the rest of us. A trading card game that used to be not mainstream. It used to be frequented by most of your non-conforming people until it broke into the mainstream. Understand that fucking community for like just a second. Also, another thing that I find interesting is that when I have any type of political take and I let it slip into my Magic the Gathering channel, people tend to get kind of upset about that. And I can understand why, because sometimes when you're going to watch a Magic channel, when you're going to watch a channel about a game, the last thing you want to deal with is the politics of the fucking person who's making the stuff. That's why I have my politics channel separate. If somebody finds my politics channel after my Magic the Gathering channel, then congratulations. Well, welcome to the comrade place, probably, maybe. But, weird thing, though, is that if you look behind Jeremy, is it in this video? Yeah, if you look behind Jeremy, he just has a big fucking Trump sign behind him. Like, obviously, if you're familiar with Jeremy, you already know his shtick here. But it's really weird to get your, like, get politics out of gaming people constantly shoving their politics into hobbies like this.
Greed, lawsuits, terrible card design, pandering to weird dorks, brightly colored hair people that do not buy the product. And it's time. You know, I've been quiet about it. I've been, you know, I've kind of kept things to myself. I've been playing Magic the Gathering events for quite a long time now. And I have a lot to say. In particular, I have a separate video I'm going to come out with tomorrow about the lawsuit, as well as some unboxings tomorrow. But I hope that each person that sees this video will leave a like on it, because each like equals one woke dork melting down.
One woke dork melting down. Is this... So, like, I have a question. Is it melting down if somebody, like, merely critiques what you say? Is that indicative of a meltdown? Because I feel like sometimes there's a catch-22 when it comes to right-wing media, right? If you ignore what they say, then you are doing the SJW thing where you're in your echo chamber. But if you don't ignore what they say and you respond to it, then you are melting down and you wouldn't be reacting to it if it didn't affect you. I feel like I'm in a strange spot where I'd like to let a channel like this kind of die, but it's not going to, because he's got a main political channel with a gigantic following. So he can AstroTurf people into unsleeved media who might not even give a shit about Magic the Gathering very, very easy. Hell, I've kind of done that with my own channel, where I've been like, hey, I have a Magic channel. Come go over there if you want to watch Magic the Gathering stuff. So I get it. But still. Anyway, continue, buddy.
I know that this video is going to cause some waves in the woke sector of Magic the Gathering. This is the sector that Wizards of the Coast chose to listen to 6-7 years ago when they banned me. And that sector's advice has led to the game being in arguably the worst state it's ever been in.
So that's kind of weird, because the worst state it's ever been in, Jeremy, you know that more people play Magic the Gathering now than they did when you got banned? Like, I have my criticisms of Wizards, all right? And I can lay them out on the table. I do not like their stewardship of the 60-card formats. I believe that most of our 60-card formats have kind of languished because of Commander. And I also believe that for Commander design from Magic the Gathering has certainly not been great for the game. I think that Commander works best when cards are not designed for Commander, simply happen to work well within the context of Commander. So I do not like how even Commander gets power crept by it being the most played format, and Wizards making cards specifically for it, which inevitably will cause people to have more and more power crept cards in it. I am not happy with the universes beyond proliferation in Magic the Gathering. I do not like the profit for profit's sake style of Magic the Gathering that we have right now. The Smash Brothers or Fortnitification of Magic. I don't like these things. But there is one thing I can't deny, and that is that by the numbers, not sales numbers, but by the raw numbers of people that sit in seats at stores, there are far more people playing Magic now than there were in 2019. And not by a small margin. Like, even with Universes Beyond, we've got to talk about people who came into the game because they were Final Fantasy fans. And they bought a Final Fantasy deck, and that brought them into the game. I went to a Sonic the Hedgehog convention here in Atlanta, and I brought my Dr. Eggman deck there because it was right after the Sonic Secret Lair came out. And I got in a bunch of Magic the Gathering games at the convention that I didn't think I was going to be able to get in, because it's a fucking Sonic convention, not a Magic convention. But there were so many people there that had started playing Magic literally because they saw that Sonic had made his way into the game, and so they picked up the game and started playing it. And they didn't even stick with just the Sonic cards. They started playing, one of them had a Final Fantasy deck, another one of them had a, more bog standard Commander deck with universes within stuff. Like, I got to meet a lot of people there, and they didn't just stick around for Sonic. And then it's just Final Fantasy and Lord of the Rings, those two brought in so many goddamn people. It is insane. I have my criticisms of Universes Beyond. I do not like Universes Beyond, but I'm not going to deny that so many people have come into the game because of it. I have a friend who had the conversation with me about the Sonic collab and Magic, and how, do you really think people are going to start playing the game just because, like, there's a hedgehog in there now? And I started meeting a bunch of the people that started playing the game just because Sonic had made his way in. So, like, yes, actually, that does happen. But I would like to know the context of, like, the state of Magic. What do you consider the state of Magic, and how is that bad? Again, my version of that is, I do not like Made for Commander cards. I do not like Universes Beyond, despite the good it has done for the game. And I do not appreciate the languishing of the 60-card formats. I think that those are things that should not have happened. But regardless, maybe he'll explain.
Everything woke turns to shit, and that's what has happened to Magic the Gathering.
Okay, cool. It's because it's woke, actually. Are you going to explain?
Now, Pokemon TCG has a whole different set of problems that I'm going to talk about in another video later this week. That's more of a simple supply and demand versus greed problem. Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, they chose to side with woke weirdos.
Okay, how many times are you going to repeat the same fucking thing, my guy? How many times is it going to be woke weirdos, woke people with differently colored hair, woke? Can you give a tangible critique? I have already offered mine on the table. Can you give a tangible critique of the company that is not rooted in some kind of weird political grift?
Who are out there blowing their whistles at ICE and not buying Magic the Gathering cards, not supporting their local trading card game stores.
Wait, what?
At ICE chose to side with woke weirdos who are out there blowing their whistles at ICE and not buying Magic the Gathering cards.
Do you know how many people go to protests and then play Magic afterwards? Do you know how many people do canvassing and then play Magic afterwards? Like, okay, during the Jamal Bowman campaign, when I went up to New York to help Progressive Victory do that campaign, you know what I did when we were done being outside in the fucking heat? When we had like a big pizza party with all the canvassers, I sat down and I busted out my Magic decks. And it took only a couple of seconds for that table to fill up instantly. Like, I don't know if you realize, but people can go be politically involved and then also come home and play Magic. What the fuck are you talking about?
Not supporting their local trading card game stores. Do you know how many Magic the Gathering stores have closed around me in the past 5 years? Well, the answer is nearly all of them.
Nearly all of them in the last 5 years? My guy, are you aware of an event that happened roughly 5 years ago? Technically 6 now. You know, time moves real quick, but just a single event that might have happened between then and now that could have caused the closing of several locations that are built around people coming together physically in a location. I don't know, man. It's not like we had a global disease or anything. Like, I know that there was a shop, the shop that I went to for years, up in Calhoun, actually closed down because of COVID. Like, he tried to stay open as long as he could through the pandemic and then ended up having to sell his shop as we neared the end of what the first stages of the pandemic were, as COVID was transitioning from pandemic to endemic. I saw that happen. It happened there. It happened to the Raven's Nest. It happened to multiple shops. Now, it just so happens that I live in a very population-dense area of Georgia, near enough Atlanta, that there's a lot of shops around me that are really, really well populated that were able to weather that storm, but there were just as many shops that did not weather that storm and died. There was one in Cartersville that ended up folding during those events as well. Like, I can name shops that went down, at least 3 off the top of my head, and that's just in the cities that I frequented.
Nearly all of them have closed down. Why? Because Wizards of the Coast has chosen to listen to fat, greasy male predators and trans weirdos.
How? Just one question, Jeremy. Can you please explain how? What advice did Wizards of the Coast get from the fat, greasy predators that caused several independent trading card stores that survive not just on Magic the Gathering, but also on Yu-Gi-Oh!, Flesh and Blood, Pokemon, and now One Piece? How did those shops die because of predators? How did those shops die because of trans people? You see, there's this thing that the Quartering will do, and he does it a lot. He will freak the hell out about a thing, and he will point the finger at some monolith or some supposed monolith, in this case, trans people. Let's see if he actually substantiates that claim, but he's claimed it 5 times now. We have had the weird woke people with differently colored hair, woke people, woke freaks. We've had this version right here where greasy predators and then trans people, which, make no mistake, Jeremy thinks they are the same fucking people. So there are 5 claims right now between those, one of which is, I mean, they're all redundant to one another, but one of them was him splitting up a category that I promise you he thinks is a single category. But let's go ahead and see. Do you substantiate this? We're almost halfway through your video.
In terms of what kind of cards they want to print, who should represent their game. Now, the game is almost exclusively represented by far leftoid soy boys, and the proof is in the pudding. Wizards of the Coast is literally being sued because they've ruined their own game.
They're being sued for overprinting. That's what they're being sued for. So, like, man, shareholders from Hasbro and Wizards are accusing executives of artificially inflating stock prices by overproducing Magic the Gathering cards to cover the revenue shortfalls elsewhere. Where in that statement is a trans person mentioned? Where in that statement is a predator mentioned? Like, where there... How do you connect those dots, Jeremy? How do you go from point A to point B? Or do you just shrink about point B and hope that that's enough of a distraction for us so that we don't think about the fact that point A is like several miles away?
This is what happens when you stop listening to actual players like myself, actual people that spend real money in the game, not woke weirdo Reddit warriors that spend all day whining and complaining about hate speech and words they don't like, and not enough troons in the game. Okay, there's not enough representation. Well, now we get the Spider-Man set. How'd that work out for you? Wizards of the Coast.
Where is the thoroughfare? What does the Spider-Man set have to do with a slur against trans people? How do you... I'm so confused. How did we get from one of those to the other? That doesn't make any sense to me. What the fuck are you talking about? Representation? Can you give an example of a character that was brought into Magic the Gathering specifically as a bit of trans representation, and how bringing that character into Magic the Gathering produced the downfall of Magic? Can you do that? I don't know if you can. Like, yeah, we have a couple of characters who are gay and non-binary in Magic, right? So, like, here, this is Nico. That is also me saying, fuck you, I'm going to use my ad blocker. So this is Nico. And Nico is non-binary. In a lot of Nico's art, they will look really, really feminine, but then obviously have facial hair. This is just an aspect of how Nico is portrayed and who Nico is. There is Alesha, who smiles at death, who is trans. But like, how neither of these things are ruining the game. I didn't freak out when I saw old Alesha and went, oh, cool, we get to see an old trans woman that didn't fucking off themselves because of people like the quartering. That's so cool. Like, I don't see how any of that is ruining the game. They're characters in the game. There are things in Magic that are making the game worse, but I don't think this is one of them. I don't. Hell, actually... Jeremy, there was a long bit of time where representation was actually taken away from Magic the Gathering. Do you remember when Chandra and Nissa? Do you remember when Chandra and Nissa were, their status as gay lovers was revoked by the lore? Do you remember that? Because Wizards wanted to sell more of their cards in China, and in China... they weren't really great with homosexual people. So they started getting rid of homosexual representation in Magic the Gathering to appeal to people in China. They have slowly started walking away from that, but in either case, them removing that representation or them adding it in didn't ruin the game at all. What the fuck are you talking about? Is he just going to keep shrieking about this without ever substantiating it once?
Is so desperate nowadays that they have been pandering with these ridiculous crossover sets that the game never needed back when I played, back before they banned me. Magic the Gathering never needed cringe Spider-Man or cringe Lord of the Rings or cringe Final Fantasy crossovers or cringe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay, I also do not like Universes Beyond, but you do understand that, again, Universes Beyond has brought more people into Magic than it has had before. Like, period. The amount of people that came in because of the Warhammer crossover, the Final Fantasy crossover. Hell, I have friends that don't play card games that started Magic because the Fallout crossover happened, and they were like, oh my god, I actually love that thing. Hold on, I'm gonna pick up a deck with the best boy, even though the deck fucking sucked. Sorry, everybody who liked dog meat. I don't get that. Gideon Wells says, Annie Temple has argued that Xancha, one of the earliest characters, is trans, and it's been there since the start. Xancha, I think might be trans as well. I don't remember the exact argument for why Xancha is trans. Xancha being Urza's best friend who turned out to be a Phyrexian sleeper agent. Jasta says, how is Lord of the Rings cringe? It works well. Yeah, like, okay, so of the collaborations that Magic the Gathering has done, Final Fantasy and Lord of the Rings are two of the ones that I was happiest about. Not because I care particularly for either franchise. I like Final Fantasy games, I like Lord of the Rings, but I certainly like other things far more than them. But in terms of universes that can cross into Magic just fine, like, those are them. Also, and I hate to say this, because it undermines my point of not liking Universes Beyond, because this is an issue that I have with the greater gaming landscape. Almost every game has crossovers now. Almost all of them. And it is a very frustrating thing, because it used to be something that was special, right? Like Super Smash Brothers had crossover fighters from mostly Nintendo franchises. The odd time that somebody not from a Nintendo franchise came in, that was like really, really monumental. Then you have Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur would have one representative, maybe two, from a different franchise, and oftentimes would have the representative that they had be different based on the game console you were playing. Soul Calibur 2 had Link on the GameCube, but Heihachi on PS2. If you go over to Soul Calibur 3, suddenly we have Darth Vader if you're playing on the PS3, and Yoda if you're playing on the Xbox 360, and then it was paid DLC to get the other one, I believe. Companies have been doing this for a while, but the way that it was done, it was handled a lot more with care. It was handled with a lot more care once upon a time. Now, it's kind of a willy-nilly, like, just add everybody into everything, and I don't like it. I cannot like it. But when you're sitting there going, oh my god, cringe, cringe Lord of the Rings, cringe Final Fantasy, cringe Spider-Man, I'm sorry, but I don't think there's any saliency to any of your points at that point, because, like, all you're doing is yelling into the microphone.
This is the actions of a desperate company, of a company desperately in need of advice from somebody who has played the game since 1994.
I don't think that that's the case, Jeremy. I've played Magic for a long time as well. Not since 1994, because I was 2 years old at that point. I've played Magic since Onslaught block. So, I will say this. Your conversation doesn't need to be had with WotC. Your conversation needs to be had with Hasbro. Hasbro are the ones who are mostly pushing for all of the Universes Beyond stuff within Wizards of the Coast. Because Hasbro is losing stock, but they are basically being propped up by Wizards of the Coast. And so they are trying to make sure that Wizards is making as much money as possible, because they are losing stock everywhere else.
They need advice from somebody who has spent tens of thousands of dollars playing their game, cracking packs, going to events, learning the game, teaching the game to thousands of people through this YouTube channel, Unsleeved Media. You may know me as MTG headquarters, but the meltdown, I promise you, will be enormous from this. I have kept this information to myself for a long time, but I have decided I can no longer let Wizards of the Coast drive this game into oblivion. They have been listening to...
Is he really trying to position himself as the savior of Magic the Gathering? Oh my god! And he's calling the WotC decisions cringe! My guy, there is nothing more cringe than you thinking that you're the guy who's gonna save everyone and everything. Main character syndrome to the fucking nines. What is with you?
These far leftoid fake communist losers, okay, like Tolarian Community College, for the past 10 years, and where has that gotten them? When I
It's made them the largest card game in the world, largely, and it's also increased the amount of people that are playing the game now more than ever. Okay, Jeremy, just to prove my point, so when you were playing Magic, right around here, like pre-2020, we're just going to use Google Trends, right? Google Trends. If you, and I put Magic the Gathering and MTG together, so that I would have something a little more accurate. Turns out people search MTG more than they search Magic the Gathering. And that's fine. That is kind of what I figured was going to happen. So, looking at Google Trends, do you notice that when you were playing Magic, Magic was on a very slight incline? Very, 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 very slight in terms of how many people were searching it. And in fact, there was a really hard dip around December 31st of November 30th of 2020 into December 31st of 2020. However, when we started getting a lot more universes beyond. Basically, around the time that the Walking Dead secret layer happened, and once we started getting, like, the Junji Ito secret layer, the secret layers for various other video games, the Street Fighter secret layer, you can start seeing that the Google search trends for Magic starts to increase. And then, something weird happens. In the last 3 years, we've had a fuck ton of Magic the Gathering product that has been universes beyond. Lord of the Rings, Final Fantasy, etc. Do you notice that since then, the trends have been on an almost entirely upward trajectory? Almost completely northward compared to what it was. Do you know why that is? Because there is mass appeal in universes beyond. Magic the Gathering was a niche game, and it had niche appeal. Now it has universal appeal. Something that it did not have before. Again, I can lament the Magic that I grew up with and say that it is something that I preferred, that I wanted more than anything. But to argue that Wizards is failing because of universes beyond is a wild statement to make when we can literally just use data to see that Magic is more popular now than it quite literally has ever been. This is the data tracking these search terms from the inception of Google back in 2004 all the way to now. Numbers don't always lie. They can be manipulated, and you can use stats to tell some pretty fucked up stories, but I think the story that the stats show here is pretty basic and pretty cut and dry, my guy. You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't bring anything to the table of a discussion. You just yell and claim falsehoods.
Left this space, okay, there were hundreds of thriving Magic the Gathering channels. Hundreds. Now there's like 3. How'd that work?
Jeremy, you do know that in the last 6 years, YouTube killed the YouTube star. YouTube has made it a point to diversify the amount of people that are getting watch time instead of letting it be focused on people like Logan Paul, for example. In fact, Logan Paul is actually the catalyst that caused YouTube to start doing this. All content creators on YouTube are making less money than they used to, for the most part, are getting less views than they used to, for the most part, and there's only a handful of creators that are able to rise to quite literally superstardom from YouTube. When you think of the YouTube superstars, the people who have become, like, prolific in every space because of YouTube, you basically have, like, PewDiePie, Markiplier, Mr. Beast. As far as people from, like, legacy YouTube up to now, you have some of the members from Smosh. You've got, like, Rooster Teeth, but they became their own company, and then, you know, Rooster Teeth things happened. You've got people who are from legacy YouTube who literally rose to superstardom, but when you think of modern YouTube superstars, people who are household names, even outside of, like, nerd culture, it's basically just Mr. Beast. Like, I can't think of anybody else except Mr. Beast. And maybe that's ignorance on my part. That's entirely possible. But when I think of the YouTube star, the concept of it has been kind of killed by YouTube specifically, and it makes sense. Said the Paul brothers, again, like, Logan Paul was one of the reasons when he found, like, the dead corpse in the woods. He was one of the reasons that they wanted to start killing the YouTube star. And I don't say that to lament the death of the YouTube star. I say that to point out that as a result of that, you're going to have fewer people who rise to the tippy tops because YouTube truncated the tippy tops. When I think of Magic the Gathering channels that are performing decently right now, I'm thinking of, like, Really Bad at MTG, Trinket Mage, Tolarian Community College, Pleasant Kenobi, and that's just 4 of them right now. Oh, Salubrious Snail, there's 5, 3-3 Elk, there's 6, Rebel, who's actually on the rules committee for the Commander format, that's another one. Let's see, who else do we have? Oh, you've got, let's see here, I'm completely forgetting Mauled Hound, MTG Goldfish, the EDH Rec cast. Man, Who else am I forgetting? The Command Zone? Yeah, you're right, Jassa. That's 11. There's the Command Zone. You've got a lot of creators. A ton of creators. Oh, you've got the Commander mechanic, and you've got that mill guy. They're both doing really well. Hell, I could just go into... I'm in a Discord server with a lot of different content creators who do Magic the Gathering content. I could just check the member list in here. Online alone, there are 79 members in here. And granted, these are people who range from small, like very, very small creators to people from like Kathleen from Loading Ready Run. Like, there's a lot of people in this particular server that I am in who are creators of all fucking sizes. Covert Go, yep, there's CGB, there's Covert Go Blue. Jessa says, Loading Ready Run, how could I forget them? I try not to forget them because I've played with Kathleen. So, to say like, there's only like 3, my guy, do you just not care about facts, data, logic, like any of that? Do you not care about being right? Do you not care about being correct?
Out for you, listening to, oh, can I have $1 Tolarian? How about the Mana Source, who ripped the Magic community off for $80,000 for some back injury and then never published another video, right? How about all these people who talk about, oh, there's not enough trans people in the game? How is the game working out for you now? How is the community?
How do you keep getting back to this? You're not substantiating anything at all. Also, the Mana Source, hold on, let's see here. The Mana Source's last video was 2 years ago. And let's see, this is one that I'm not actually aware of. The Mana Source controversy. Let me go ahead and see what happened with that. Jeremy, are you talking about the back injury that he is showing right here from several years ago? Is the controversy that he doesn't make content anymore? Is that it? Like, okay, so let's say that I did a stream tomorrow where I said, this is a subathon stream, I'm going to do my best, and I burnt myself out as a creator, and then I couldn't make it back to content for, say, 3 months or so. Would you consider that scamming your audience? Because I'm just speaking from experience. Like, that's what happened with me. Now, granted, he's been gone far longer than 3 months, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of stuff about like people being angry or a controversy here. Again, is the controversy that he's just not making content now? Like, what the fuck am I missing here?
Arriving now that you bent the knee to men pretending they're women.
So trans people, again, you know that there are trans people working at Wizards right now, and the company's doing fine.
How is the community doing now that you brought these woke weirdos into the game that damaged the Magic cards during tournaments to virtue signal about MTurfs? Yeah.
Thriving, actually. There's more Magic the Gathering players now than ever before. Any city I go in, there's no less than 4 card shops I can go to. And when I go, there's always people playing Magic. I can basically just walk in with my commander decks, ask what power level we're going at, and just sit down for a game. I've been able to do that all across Alabama, all across Georgia, all across Florida, all across New York, and New York City, obviously, all across Philadelphia, all across North Carolina, all across Iowa, actually. Oh, sorry, and all around Oregon as well. Just trying to think of all of the fucking places I've traveled in the last few years where Magic the Gathering has been thriving perfectly fucking fine. Sean says, also, are we forgetting this Magic series has had lesbians since the beginning? Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, Alaska as well, because when I went to Alaska to help Saki get her stuff to move down here, we went to a fucking card shop while we were there. I got a couple cards I needed for my Sauron deck while we were there. So yeah, that's another one that I completely blanked on. I forgot I have been to Alaska. I tried to forget I went to Alaska. Gotta hang out with Prophet Azad up there, though.
I'm a turf. That's right. I don't care if trans people play Magic the Gathering, but I don't want their opinion about what cards should be, what cards should exist, how much more representation we need.
Why does their opinion matter any less than yours? What about them being trans makes their opinion invalid, and you being cis makes your opinion more valid? How does that work? You also haven't explained how the woke killed Magic. The game that is currently the #1 card game in the entire world and is thriving by every metric and is even propping up a failing company on its own. A singular game propping up an entire company with multiple games and multiple toys under its product line, failing in every respect except the one. What are you talking about? Do you have any evidence for even a singular one of your claims?
Magic the Gathering never needed to pander, ever. But they started listening to morons like Tolarian Community College and Wedge from the Manosaurus and Reddit dorks, and look where that got them.
Wedge from the Manosaurus, who hasn't made content in years? Is that who you're talking about? Tolarian Community College, who is the largest Magic the Gathering creator on all of YouTube? Is that who you're talking about? I don't think you understand how to be a good creator in these spaces without being an overtly political fucking knob.
The game is an absolute shambles. I was right.
About what?
When they banned me, they thought I would get quieter. But guess what? I have a...
Nobody banned you so you would get quieter. They banned you as a reciprocal action because you targeted harassment at somebody. Now, granted, if you were assaulted at an event, I can understand the position that you might have felt you were in when you did it. At the same time, it doesn't mean you didn't fucking do it. The correct thing to do when somebody assaults you would be to get the authorities involved. And instead, you got your internet community involved. A group of people who were not going to operate with any kind of restraint. Now, I'm not saying the police operate with constraint, but at least there are a handful of ways we can kind of sort of try to hold them accountable. You can't do that for the fucking mob, my guy. And yet you were all willing to use that mob against a person. I understand why. Again, you got assaulted. Makes sense. The correct response there is law enforcement, not what you did. Lenari says, so he did this stochastic terrorism. According to what I have read, seems to be the case. Also, you were already on thin ice in terms of the whole community at large anyway when you were sending your entire fan base to harass a fucking cosplayer. This is weird, Jeremy. This is so childish and weird. This is you opening up your Magic the Gathering channel, having a meltdown, while projecting a meltdown on all kinds of woke people that you blame for everything that's happened in the game that you don't like. I'm very confused by literally every action you've taken. Every single thing you have said. Every single thing that has come out of your mouth. You don't substantiate any claim you make. You don't bring up anything to back it up. You just yell it into the aether and hope that it sticks. This video depresses the shit out of me. Because I don't think you shouldn't be allowed to engage in this hobby. I think regardless of your politics, you should be allowed to engage in Magic the Gathering and have fun with other people. Hell, by having more fun with other people, you get a diversity of different opinions around you more often, and as a result of that, you may even change your mind about some people, but I know you're not going to. I know you specifically never can. You're financially dependent on your opinions being what they are, as caustic as they are so much, that you can only be a tumor, and it's all you get to be. And that depresses me. Because I can't fathom being trapped like that. A gilded cage of your own design. That said, the other reason it saddens me is I want you to be able to engage with this game. But engaging in this game and enjoying it is not sitting there like frothing at the mouth like a rabid fucking dog about women with penises, about men with vagubus. That's not engaging with the game. That's freaking out about people you don't like. That's looking at people who you call the other and just blaming every single societal ill on those people. And it's a sad existence. It's gotta be sad to be Jeremy. Lenari says, and it's such a weird thing to not like about somebody. Yeah. It's a very weird thing. Incredibly weird, even. Trey says, oh, this is going to be a rough night. Guts at Gibbon plus Will Duffy is streaming now, and they will overlap with Suris and Rhino. Ah, fair. Fair. I'll definitely go where you feel you want to go. There is nothing wrong with whatever decision you make there. I don't know. That's about as much as I want to get into this. There's another video of Jeremy's that I want to talk about, but I thought I'd be able to cover 2 videos from him at once, but I can't. This is just sad. These are the actions of a man that wants to aim their gun everywhere and never try to understand why they felt like they wanted to shoot in the first place. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Sylvie Snow, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.